Welcome back, everyone. You are listening to the Truth That Heals podcast. I am your host, Ryan Anthony Hernandez, and for today, I wanted to give a little update on what's been happening. So, I just recently returned from visiting family and friends in Los Angeles, and I want to share this experience with you because uh, for those of you who don't know, I used to be in a religious slash end times cult. And in that environment, it really shattered a lot of my friendships, a lot of my relationships with my family. So for me to go back to LA and to really have a wonderful time, it really shows the progress of the healing. And I want to talk about this because there was a long period in my life after leaving the cult where I felt so hopeless, or there were also times in which I had felt guilty for enjoying the pleasures of spending time with my family. So for those of you who are in the cult or who have left the cult, you may also be able to understand that feeling of being separated from loved ones, being separated from so many amazing and awesome friends because of this ideology which gets introduced when you join the cult. So in the experience that I had, the way they viewed the family was kind of like they're not holy enough. Or if you talk to your family, they're going to try to uh, lure you into the world. They're going to try to lure you away from the group. And of course, inside the community, we did not see we didn't see it as a cult. It is only now that I have done my own research and I've been able to process the things that have happened that I can say that where I was had so many cultic themes and coercion. And so they they created this us versus them mentality, not only with the world, because of course, the world is evil and all that jazz, but also there is an us versus them mentality with your family. The hard thing when I left the community was being able to build trust. That was one of the hardest things. Can I trust my family? And that was a very difficult question because when I left the cult, I still kept many of the thinking patterns very close to my mind and heart. So even though I was not physically there, coming back home to see relatives, I would have a lot of guilt that I shouldn't be with them, guilt that I am perhaps committing some kind of a sin, or that I'm not being uh, because in the cult way of living there is this extremism. So and it's not only in the cult that I was in. There are several cults out there where you have to really give it all for the group, and everyone else they're not good enough. They're not holy enough. So coming back home, I was in a position where it was hard for me to trust my family. Now, I wanted to share with you some things that my family did, which helped me to start building that trust. And I think it's important for me to share because it could be that you, the listener, have perhaps recently left the cult, or maybe you, the listener, you might have a loved one who has recently left the cult. And what I want to share is how I personally have been able to reconnect with some family members, loved ones, relatives, friends. So one big thing that happened when I came back was, of course, I didn't know my own identity. I didn't know who the hell I was. I didn't know what were my likes, my dislikes. But one thing that was hard for me, coming from a religious cult, and then going back to the world, and my family not fully understanding, was my parents try to understand. Sometimes we did have our small arguments, but a thing that I really respected, especially from my father, was that he saw that for me to go to church, it wasn't easy. And what happens for many people who are in in a culty environment, and when they leave, it, it's hard to connect with people, because it's and with the family, they weren't in the cult. My parents, they weren't in it, but I mean they were surrounded by it, but it's a very complicated cult. Let's just say that. But when I came out, my parents, especially my father, didn't pressure me to go to church. Instead, he invited me, if ever you want to go to church and pray, uh, you're more than welcome. And I am grateful for that, because I am aware of other scenarios in where people, when they're having their faith struggle or whatever, struggles with religion, sometimes family members can be a little bit too pressuring, and the mentality becomes, if you don't pray enough, you're not part of the family. If we see you drinking, we got to shun you. All this extremism. And what I experienced from my family was, well, if you go to church, cool. If you don't, we love you. We're here for you. We support you. It was an unconditional love. And that was one thing that helped me personally stand up again, because leaving the community and coming back into the world, I didn't know who to trust. And for a while, I was forcing myself to go to church, and there were times when it felt uncomfortable. And to have that respect from my family, where even if I didn't go to church, they still showed that they loved me, supported me, and wanted the best for me. It wasn't a conditional love. It wasn't like, oh, if you go to church every day, then we'll love you. It wasn't that. And that's the kind of lifestyle that I had in the cult. Was that, if in order to be, I guess, rewarded, you have to pray this many rosaries, you have to do like this amount of hours of prayer, and if not, it's like no food, or less sleep. So it was always a punishment. You always have to reach this certain standard, which made it difficult. So coming out of that environment, I was a part of me was looking, what is the standard? You know, what is the quota of rosaries or Bible verses, all that stuff that I'm supposed to do? I felt so lost. But then having my parents like, if you don't want to pray, it's all right. I mean, like, hey, we're praying for you. We wish you the best. Um, if you go to church or not, we're your parents. We love you. Boom. I did. I don't go to church all the time. I'm not there every day, but it was really, for me personally, I felt so much love. In the cult, it's like you have to be prayerful. You have to be like super prayerful, and like it was just an extreme. And if you reach that extreme standard, then you'll be rewarded with food or sleep. And it was very It was very degrading. So that's the first thing. I just wanted to get that spiritual side out of the way. And, going back to what I said in the beginning, I just returned from a trip to Los Angeles to really party with my family, with relatives and friends. And we partied hard. And you know what? After partying, I didn't feel guilty. Years ago, when I first left the cult, if I were to go out or go to a concert, go to a movie theater, um, just spending time with loved ones, I would always feel this guilt. I would feel that I deserve thunderbolts coming from the sky and striking me down because I'm happy. Now, how was I able to reconnect with my family members? There are relatives that I have who always just invite me. They always, call me up or they send me a text, and I I have to admit, when I first left the cult, and maybe now a little bit still, there is a bit of social awkwardness. There is a bit of fear being around people, and people know me as a social butterfly, but it's really taken a lot. And what people don't see is that after social events, I had felt so much guilt and anxiety. But little by little over the years, having relatives call me up or invite me to functions, family activities, has really helped me feel part of the family and just seeing their love. And even though, they're not saying every day, we love you, it's the actions, it's the behavior. And you really feel it. So I just wanted to share that because if you're trying to reconnect with a family member, you don't have to preach. You don't have to, throw Bible verses. You don't have to say, we'll love you if you pray every day. We'll love you if you're pure. We'll love you if. So many ifs. What really has helped me is that my family has been able to say, we love you. And that has really made such a beautiful impact in my life. A hard thing that I have come across from some listeners is that sadly there are those scenarios when the person leaves the cult and the family doesn't want anything to do with them. They don't want anything to know about how life is going. They just completely shun them and throw them to the gutter. And that's a painful thing. I recently was talking to someone about this because I personally haven't gone through that. And it was actually through Instagram, and this person was telling me, and there's so much wisdom in just hearing different perspectives, different voices, and that's what I love about doing the podcast. It's just you know hearing different avenues of truth, not just mine but other people's. And this person was saying, "Look, Ryan, my family, they don't love me. They don't want anything to do with me. But you know what? I have been able to create the most beautiful friendships, the most beautiful relationships with people who aren't family, but yet these friendships are so powerful, so positive, that I have created a new family." And I think that is something beautiful that I have to share. That this person reached out to me on Instagram talking about boundaries and not allowing her family to anymore ruin her life because of all of the negativity and the shunning and all of that toxicity. But also how she was able to distinguish that not everyone is going to be like that, and that in the world, and when I say the world, for you cult survivors, it might sound like, ooh, the world, something dark, and everything there is evil. But being able to speak to that Instagram user has kind of opened my eyes once again that there are so many beautiful people out there. Not everyone is evil and demonic. And sadly, sometimes you find the evil and demonic people inside your churches, inside your religious communities. And sometimes the good people are those who are quote unquote in the world. So that's all I wanted to share was my own healing journey, how me going back to LA, I'm able to no longer have that guilt, but bring that joy, that peace, that love, and also that advice that that Instagram user gave to me about being able to connect with those around you and having the wisdom to build healthy friendships, friendships that are positive, non toxic, and good. And that's it for today. I'm your host, Ryan Anthony Hernandez. If you like this episode, feel free to subscribe to my YouTube channel, to my podcast here on either Spotify or Apple Podcast. Also, feel free to leave reviews and please share. I'm trying to grow my channel and see where life takes me. I am on an adventure and I wish for you to join me my my adventure of my healing journey. So please feel free to like and subscribe or leave a review. And also, if you want to help me out, maybe leave a donation or give some hook me up with a coffee. I'll be leaving some links in the show notes where you can also help your brother out. And that's it for today. Love you all. Peace out.